What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. On today's episode, we'll be discussing the 31 anniversary, 31st, I guess is the proper way to say it, 31st anniversary of the Bulls winning their first title. Now, we're not going to get too deep into it, but just a little memory shared there. So we'll be getting to that. We'll also be talking about Vooch and Marko Simonovic playing in the World Cup qualifiers. And they have games against France and Portugal, and what that could mean for Marko's development, as well as Marko really spending primarily almost this whole summer with Nikola Vucevic, and what that could mean priming him in his sophomore season. Lastly, we'll also be talking about the film Hustle, the Netflix original. So make sure you guys, if you haven't watched that yet, this may inspire you to check that movie out with Adam Sandler, bunch of NBA players. It's a really good film. So we'll get into all that and more on today's Chicago Bulls Central.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
All right, Bulls fans. So welcome to the episode. Thank you for joining me. You can be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. But nonetheless, today's episode, first, we want to talk about the 31st anniversary since the Bulls won their first title against the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, I know for a big part of my audience, a lot of you guys weren't even alive to even remember this. I was 4 years old when the Bulls won their first title, and it's weird because even though I was that young, I don't remember the games, right? I won't even sit here and act like I've gone back as an adult and watched that whole series in full several times. But I do remember, like I've said this before, I started this channel after a conversation with my dad. I've been kicking around starting a Bulls channel for a while, and like I remember my dad's excitement when the Bulls won the title. I remember, like I said, I don't remember the games in and out, but I do remember just the energy around my dad and the fact that the Bulls won the title and the Michael Jordan. Like my dad had me in Jordans like as long as I can remember. So it's crazy that it's been 31 years, right? And then the Bulls go on, they win 3 straight, have the break, they win another 3 straight, have a second three-peat, and just the start of the Bulls dynasty and what that meant for really making the Chicago Bulls the worldwide brand that it is today. And part of the reason why I'm able to do this channel and to be successful is that the Bulls have a worldwide fan base. Now, that's to be said to a lot of NBA teams nowadays, but it wasn't like that back then. Like Michael Jordan, the Bulls, they really transcended so much and broke so many barriers when it comes to like the worldwide awareness of the game and playing a part of that. Of course, the Dream Team, other players as well played a part in that. But it's just crazy to think of. It's been 31 years since that, and as the Bulls are improving and we have a better energy around the team for the most part. I know a lot of Bulls fans still have their issues with things around here, and that's fine. But 31 years, that's just crazy. For those that were around, I know I do have some channel members who were around and remember that. And I want to know your thoughts, your memories of back then. So leave those in the comments down below, and we can, reminisce on some good times in Chicago Bulls history. And just kind of the thing, it started with drafting Jordan, but winning that title and winning it over Magic Johnson and the Lakers was really just something special. Not many people had given us a chance in that series as well. And I've talked about it before. I talked about it on the episode with Stacey King, how much that series really reflects like the Boston and Golden State series right now. Like, yes, this is going to go way longer than 5 games, right? This is probably going to go hopefully 7 games, but we'll see. But at least 6. But just like almost the passing of the torch, the old Western Conference team that's just been there several times and been around and a staple for so long, and the young Eastern Conference team trying to come up and win that first title. So, let me know what you guys think down below. But let's go ahead and get into the actual Bulls news, and that is Vooch and Marko will be playing in the World Cup qualifiers. They're playing against France and Portugal, and more so than this, it's going to be good to watch the games. I'm sure the game's going to be televised somewhere. We'll have a way to stream the games for sure to be able to see Marko and how he's improved over the course of the summer. We already know the G League things, like 17 and almost 10 with 3 assists per game. He had an amazing defensive rating as well. That's one thing that kind of shocked me in looking at his G League stat is how solid his defensive rating was. Nothing worldly or anything, but very solid defensive rating. You wouldn't notice that from seeing it on the few minutes that he played on the NBA level. But I really do think like this is going to help jumpstart Marko coming into training camp and hopefully earning some solid NBA minutes coming into the season rather than just being relegated to the G League. I've said it before. If Marko spends primarily his second season in the G League again, it's a fail. we need to see Marko on the NBA level. Marko almost dominated in the G League. Like, and of course, not anything crazy points per game or anything like that, where he led the G League in points per game. But at the same time, we want to see, at this point, Marko's development. He can learn nothing else from the G League. That 1 year spent down there, I understand. Get his body ready, get him used to close to the speed of the game. All those things I understand, right? But at this point in time, we need to see Marko on the NBA level, and him spending this summer with Vooch is just as important as Patrick Williams going down there to practice with DeMar DeRozan. I think that's something that's kind of been understated. It hasn't been reported on as heavily either, just how much time Marko has been spending with Nikola Vucevic this season and what that could mean to his development to really be able and be prepared to give us some things heading into next season. And, you know, I've covered Marko pretty heavily here. I've probably talked about Marko between here and Locked On Bulls probably more than any other platform this summer, because I really do think that, you know, while we didn't get to see it at all last season, I do think that AK and Eversley at least have some faith in Marko and his ability to come in here and give the Bulls something solid. Because when you look at them giving him the 3-year deal, yes, it could be because they saw that he needed more development, the IO, things like that. But that's a big stamp to give a second round pick a 3-year deal. And, you know, I think that they do have faith in Marko. Now, I don't know if they see Marko as a long-term starter, if they see Marko as a big contributor off the bench. I've said it very, very, very much so before for anybody who doesn't get to see him in the G League. Marko has an elite skill set as far as offensively. He has everything: the passing, three-point shooting, mid-range shooting, ability to put the ball on the floor, a solid back-to-the-basket game. Nothing like the old-school classic back-to-the-basket game, but he does have that as part of his repertoire. So him working with Vooch this offseason, having these World Cup qualifiers, I really do think he's going to come into training camp next season probably in a way that he didn't, you know, kind of coming into the States for the first time. Unlike Vooch, like, you know, Vooch, who came over here to play college, Marko didn't have that. So Vooch kind of had that time to acclimate while he was in college that Marko didn't. So it was a lot of things that Marko had to get used to coming into this team and into the States and the NBA last season. And hopefully now that all that's out the way, we can actually see what we have in Marko to really know what his long-term future is on the Chicago Bulls team, to kind of start getting an idea for that. And again, you know, as we're thinking, and I've covered a lot of big men in this draft as well in my draft coverage, is that maybe they don't go big. Maybe they go veteran, right? They sign a veteran big because they think that they have a nice young big in Marko Simonovic, 20 years old, who's going to be able to contribute to them and for them long-term on this team as he continues to develop. And that may be something that they see for Marko, and why, you know, it may, I don't want to say it's going to make or break the decision for them and what they do with the draft or anything like that. But I do think that he is a factor and a thought in their head of their long-term plans here in Chicago. Now, one thing also, we talked a lot about Marko. I want to talk about Vooch and Vooch's upcoming contract season. Now, there's been a lot of trade talk around Vooch here recently with the Rudy Gobert thing, or maybe signing Mitchell Robinson. And, you know, Bulls fans, understandably, Vooch had a down season for him, but even 17-11 in a down season is pretty damn good. And a lot of Bulls fans think that he may be traded, think that he may be trade bait, and that makes sense, especially in a contract year. Now, the thing that I want to say is that Vooch, in this season, in the contract year, hopefully has a bounce back season in a way, fits more into that third primary focus as far as the scoring end of the ball. We already know what Vooch's deficiencies are on the defensive end, but looking at Vooch and really taking a look at what his long-term future could be with the Chicago Bulls is that Vooch very well could have a really good season in the Chicago Bulls uniform. He may not get traded. Everybody, I want you to be prepared for the world that Vooch may not be traded this season. He may even re-up with the Chicago Bulls by the end of the season. I really do think how he impacts the game this season, more than just the overall stat numbers. Not looking for his stats to get back up necessarily to what they were when he was with the Magic, but to have a year in which he contributes very well. Maybe he's even used a little bit better. As much as we talk about Vooch, there were some games where he was cooking in the first quarter, and first half, and Billy Donovan did not go back to him in the second half. So, you know, shooting woes aside, if that three-point shooting comes back or not, Vooch has elite passing, very good back to the basket game, that hook shot, mid-range game, that Vooch has enough offensive weapons that even if that three-pointer isn't the weapon that it once was in Orlando, he has a lot of things that he can offer us. And also, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this, but Vooch is not as bad defensively as some people make him out to be. I think if you have an improved team, work better, have somebody next to him like a Patrick Williams the whole season to really help some of his defensive inefficiencies, that we can see a better version of Vooch this season. Now, what does that mean for the long-term future of Nikola Vucevic? Does he sign an extension with the Chicago Bulls and re-sign with us for a lesser amount? what that number would be. If Vooch has a nice season, I can see the Bulls signing him for anything between 8 and like 12 million a season. I think that will put him around similar players of his age. Brook Lopez, for example, made $12 million last season. I know some people are going to say, well, look at what Vooch did to us in the playoffs, but just trying to use that as a gauge of something that Vooch could get out on the open market next season if he does go to the open market, or if he just re-signs with the Chicago Bulls. Looking at Vooch, maybe not wanting to work into another. The days of Vooch going to the team and being the primary focus are over. So really, Vooch looking at maybe his options, think, hey, I can be a part of the Chicago Bulls team, ride out the last 3, 4, 5 years of my career here, and contribute to a team that may get younger, may move me to the bench, but really have a place and a role carved out, possibly. Again, I'm not saying that that's going to be for certain. We'll see. Vooch heading into his 32-year-old season, while that's not old by any stretch of the imagination in real life, basketball years, big man, that's where things start declining. As far as like your role and things like that, especially if you're not one of those players that had a bunch of athleticism at one point in time. So we'll see what happens with Vooch. I do think that Vooch is going to be here, and we'll see what happens at the trade deadline. I do think that $22 million expiring contract could be a big chip for the Chicago Bulls at the trade deadline if they decide to do something. But if there's not a perfect move to be made that surefire improves this team and makes us a championship contender, I don't necessarily see Vooch leaving the Chicago Bulls, but could be wrong on that. I'm not saying that Vooch may not be traded. There's absolutely a high probability and chance that Vooch may very well be traded this season. So we'll see what it all happens and where it shakes out when it's all said and done. But that's my thoughts on it. Want to hear from you guys down below on that. Now, before we go, I do want to talk to you guys about another thing. This movie Hustle, Adam Sandler, on Netflix. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but what I will say is that if you guys enjoy basketball movies and basketball movies with some heart and soul, and seeing listen, we know Adam Sandler funny. His comedy is great, and while he does have some very funny moments in this movie as well, look, this is not as serious as Uncut Gems, but it's somewhere in between that and his comedies. And seeing, Adam Sandler loves basketball. For those that don't know, he legitimately loves the game of basketball and the NBA. So seeing him doing this role is definitely something that if you know more about him, you know that this is something he probably loved, being around these NBA players and things like that. But this movie Hustle, man, was this not just an enjoyable film? This is one of the better films that I think I've seen this year so far. We're halfway through the year in June, and this was a really, really good movie. Like I can, like I said, one of the better movies that I've seen so far. Tell the story of Juan Honer and Gomez, Hancho. I don't know how to say his name. He plays this player called Bo that Adam Sandler's character kind of just sees hustling on the streets, and I guess that's where the name Hustle comes from. And he really sees that this kid has some talent and some skill. He pays for everything for him, brings him over here, tries to get him in the draft combine, tries to get the Philadelphia 76ers to sign him outright. And it's just a great story over this kid overcoming these things. And Anthony Edwards is in it in a great role. He plays this role amazingly. This is a really good film and a really solid film. And I think if the players, if you're somebody who enjoys basketball movies, is something that you would like. And it's just it's just a really interesting. No real like amazing basketball moment, so to say, like, right, you don't have it like in a Rocky movie how you have that great fight that just there's nothing like that in it. Even the basketball things that they do, because they try to make the character and Bo do some things that the actual player can't do, but it's a really fun movie, man, I think, and it's just a really enjoyable film to watch for those who enjoy film, those who enjoy basketball movies. You guys know I love movies in general, so it's really something enjoyable to watch. I want to hear from you guys. If you did watch Hustle, what did you think about it down below? Or if you're in the podcast side, make sure you send in any emails on that as well. And if you like to see me cover kind of some more things like this, it was a really good film from top to bottom. I think it's casted very well. They use the NBA players, a ton of NBA players in it, and they use them very well. Most of them play themselves. Dr. J is in it very heavily. Kenny Smith is in it, and he plays a great role. He does not play himself. No Chicago Bulls in it, though. Come on, man. Y'all got to get some Chicago Bulls in these basketball movies. But with that being said, it's a really, really good film. And something that I think that you can, especially this time during off season, if you're looking for any type of basketball content or anything, just to kind of get you in that mindset. Maybe after the finals, you guys see it, or a day where the finals aren't on. Really, really enjoyable film to me. Want to hear from you guys and what you thought about it down below. But that is it for me for today, guys. Make sure you're following the pod at Bull Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text and or voicemail, the number to do so is 773-270-2799. Thank you for tuning in to Chicago Bulls Central. I'm Haize. I'm out. Like I like to end every episode on. Go Bulls. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.